I visited Genoa for 2 weeks at the end of winter in 2024. I arrived on a drizzly Monday afternoon, and my first sight of the city from the plane was approaching from the coast with a view of tall snow-peaked mountains which descended into dark hills. From the sky, it looked like a storybook illustration. Genoa has the largest medieval historic center in Europe. In the 20-minute walk to the apartment in the neighborhood known as La Maddalena, I was enthralled by the sacred shrines built into corners and walls, the dim narrow streets, and the fruit and vegetable markets along the way that were simple, undecorated, and starkly lit. My host had recommended a different route along Via Garibaldi, a bigger street lined with historic palaces, which are now open to the public as museums. And I understand now that this was suggested for my presumed comfort to prevent me from passing through Via Pre, which is considered a grittier area. This word is frequently used to describe Genoa, and to be honest, I don't really understand why people give this so much attention. I would expect that all cities have areas that are less polished and appealing to tourists. Cities are cities, not amusement parks, and I actually appreciate the raw authenticity. Coming from Los Angeles, where I work in the historic center of downtown, I'm used to grit. For the first couple of days in Genoa, when walking around the maze of alley-like streets, I was unconsciously vigilant, prepared to turn a corner and find myself face to face with a drugged and or mentally ill person in one of the narrow, often empty streets, which is really common in downtown Los Angeles. It never happened. I did see some unhoused people in another area, but not all that many, and they didn't look like the unhoused people in Los Angeles. They looked, for the most part, clean and healthy, definitely depressed, but cared for on the most basic level. Most days I had something specific I wanted to do or see, like a museum or a botanical garden, and in between I would just choose an area of the city to wander around in. The city is full of stunningly beautiful architecture. My favorite areas to wander were the historic center and the neighborhood just beyond it, which is called Castelletto, and it's built into the steep hills, one of the features I chose Genoa for. I've lived in the Echo Park neighborhood of Los Angeles for 25 years, and a hilly terrain is definitely my favorite. And I wanted to find a place where I could choose to live in the hills again if I wanted to, or at least go for a beautiful walk with great views anytime I needed. The way parts of Castelletto are built is really interesting. I'm used to seeing public staircases that link streets, but generally follow the slope of the hill, and even the steepest ones have some gradation. There are parts of the neighborhood of Castelletto where it's as if they cut straight into the hill, built a towering retaining wall around the perimeter, and connected the streets above and below with long staircases down along the wall. On the upper street, you walk along a walled or fenced lip of this basin at eye level with like six-floor apartments, or even looking completely over the rooftops of the buildings in the pocket. In addition to some less terrifying staircases, there are also a couple of funicular and a giant elevator to help you get around in the hillier areas as part of the public transportation system. To the east, as you enter the city center, which is flatter but still has some elevated streets that put you at eye level with the top floors of residential buildings. So much of the city was built in the early 1900s. I have never seen such an expanse of grand, ornate buildings. It's really, really visually rich. I also took the train about 30 minutes from the center in each direction to Pegli in the west and Nervi in the east end. Both are, again, really beautiful areas, but feel more suburban just in terms of the streets being much quieter. Though I was in those areas in the middle of the day during the week, it's possible that in the evenings or on the weekends, the streets are busier. In the center of Genoa, the streets fill up with people in the evenings. Kids are out of school, adults are coming home from work, and a lot of people are just out walking around, window shopping, and socializing. I was there for only one full weekend, and it was supposed to rain really, really hard on Sunday. So I had already seen that happen late one night and decided I was just going to not make any plans for that Sunday. But on the Saturday, it was clear and sunny, and I couldn't even believe how crowded and chaotic the historic center was all day long. Randomly that day, I decided to take a funicular up the mountain to where there's an observatory just to see what it looked like up there. And I found that there was also a really nice hiking trail right across the street from the end of the funicular. I didn't have a lot of social interactions, but most of everyone who I encountered was at the very least polite, if not warm and sociable. Some people realized pretty quickly that I didn't speak Italian very well, but they just kept speaking to me in Italian anyway, which I appreciated and was generally able to understand well enough. Others immediately switched to English and wanted to know where I was from and why I had decided to visit Genoa. A Moldovan woman working in a shop told me that she had visited all the major cities in Italy, as well as some of the smaller ones, before choosing Genoa, and assured me that it was the best city in Italy, which was really nice to hear. I visited a lot of museums and parks and historic sites and a couple of cemeteries. My favorite places were the Castello d'Albertis, which had the most amazing collections from d'Albertis's travels around the world in its Museum of World Cultures, and the Villa Durazzo Pallavicini, a massive botanical garden designed to be like a journey through different scenes of a story, and the Cimitero Monumentale di Staglieno, which is a huge cemetery full of stunning sculpture. Overall, my impression of Genoa was very positive. The city is beautiful in a way that almost doesn't feel real. The density feels cozy to me rather than claustrophobic, and the walkability is not only convenient but incredibly enjoyable because the city is so beautiful. And that is the shortest version of my trip to Genoa that I could give you. I hope that you enjoyed it.